Thank you, and welcome to the three of you.
Thank you.
There is a perception, and backed up by some reality, that local government has been slower in its adoption of cloud and of the use of G-Cloud than central government. Central government obviously has been helped by the Cloud First mandate, which we don't have in local government, and we'll come back onto that in a moment or two. But perhaps you three are examples of local authorities, local councils, who have actually made a significant cloud investment. And I'd like to just start, if we can, perhaps just going down the row here, with just a kind of, what have you done so far, why have you done it, and what are the benefits that you've seen? So tell us about yourselves.
Okay, fine. Good day, everybody. Rocco, Labellarte, Windsor and Maidenhead. We've gone through 4 G-Cloud procurements over the last 18 months, pretty much implemented data center using old money, IL2 and IL3 as 2 separate ones in a hybrid model. We've also implemented CMS. We're just implementing cloud telephony and also a CRM. So we've kind of done pretty much everything we need to do from a cloud perspective. Experience, very positive from the point of view of delivering rapidly the solutions. Less so certainly on the Lot 4 kind of professional services perspective where it's a little bit vague. But overall, a really positive experience. So we've done a lot of good stuff. I think we've seen quite a few odds and sods along the way as well, but I think we'll talk about those in a minute.
Okay. So, James, you're at Buckinghamshire. You had a very bold ambition, which is supposed to happen around about now, of being completely infrastructure free. I know you're not quite there, but you're pretty far down the track, yeah?
We are. If we go back to about 2010, our IT management team decided to launch the ICT strategy that announced that by the end of 2015 we would become infrastructure free. To be honest, we won't be there, but we have made some significant strides to get there over the past few years. If you look at our data center strategy, we had up until very recently 5 computer rooms. We're now down to 2, and the bulldozers will be moving in on the remaining 3 in the next couple of weeks. So we are making significant strides. A selection of technologies. We've been using some solutions from Salesforce in conjunction with our partners Arcus Global, who are here today. We've gone down the Microsoft route with Office 365. We've used Vodafone for our secure email. And at the moment we have some procurement exercises underway to look at BI, to look at telephony in the cloud for our contact centre, and also for our e-commerce as well. And
some of this has gone through G-Cloud and some of it not, is that correct?
That's true, yeah. We've had a mixture of G-Cloud, other frameworks, and we did our own tender exercise for our PSN framework for our networking.
Okay, so we'll come back onto that perhaps in a moment or two. Stephen, Bristol, you have the distinction of being the highest spender in local authority on G-Cloud to date.
Yes,
yeah.
we are, yes.
So £5,830,050 from what GovSpend says. You're obviously great supporters then of the G-Cloud framework. What have you been doing?
Well, we actively use the G-Cloud for everything that we do. So we go to it and see what's available. It's not our only route, but we put it actively first. We see an awful lot of stuff that's on there that fits with what we want to do. Our move to cloud is slightly different. We had a data center change. The building was being closed due to consolidating, and we decided to co-locate it with a partner and then take the step into cloud. So that's where, and that was a G-Cloud purchase as well under G3. But everything that I would say 60-70% of what we need as an authority is we can get off the G-Cloud. And also with SMEs, we're about 38% of our spend is with SMEs, and I can see that growing as well. So yeah, it's a pretty good place, and we find that a lot of our suppliers enjoy the openness and what it brings for them.
So as a journalist, of course, if you tell me that 9 things out of 10 are great and 1 isn't, I'm going to want to know what the 1 isn't is. So what have been the bits that haven't kind of worked for G-Cloud in terms of your procurements and deployment?
Well, before I answer that, let me just say that certainly my experience in local government is that we love SMEs. There's something about it, because we're local government, we're not central government, we're a bit smaller. And what we tend to find is that SMEs, if they're good at it, can market a lot better, can be a lot closer to you than the larger organisations, which you sort of historically you get that sort of experience of they'll bring in the A-team to do the sales and then so forth. So, I mean, both sides can learn from that in terms of that, but certainly from a local government perspective, SMEs are certainly welcome in terms of that. I think one of the earlier speakers, I think it was Kate, mentioned marketing. It is critical. Good marketing is good because you have an interesting demographic of technical people to talk to, but also politicians and officers that don't know technology. And if you can't market what you're selling, then it makes it that bit harder. In terms of the sort of negative experiences, I think G-Cloud is supposed to be really a little bit of a point-and-click solution, and actually the reality is we live in, particularly local government, we have such a mosaic of solutions from very old legacy. You know, we've heard about XP in Cabinet Office. I mean, we're still running Lotus Notes, which is great. I think they're still selling it apparently. But we have 350 business applications from very old systems to new ones, and when you actually replace the infrastructure, you have to address those systems as well, because you can't change everything at once. And one of the things we find is that the point solutions of G-Cloud are great to do what they say on the tin, but actually running in an environment where everything else has to run as well becomes a bit of a challenge. Right. So that's something that I think we need to look at.
James, you use G-Cloud for some things, you've used other frameworks for other. How do you decide what's most appropriate for what particular choice you're making?
I suppose if I give the example we're doing at the moment, which is our BI procurement, we've gone out, we call it soft market testing, market sounding, whatever you want to call it, is trying to look out there, what are the solutions out there, which frameworks are they on? I think picking up on perhaps one of the negativities about G-Cloud, which we haven't seen as a negative, is the restriction on the 2-year contract length. We don't see that as a restriction. I think that's where we want to be. We want to make sure we're not tying ourselves into very long-term contracts. We want to make sure that, okay, technology changes in 2 years. That's the industry we're in. So actually, if we're given the opportunity to do a review in 2 years' time, 18 months, then that's fair enough. So that was perceived as a negative on G-Cloud, but we don't see it as that.
It's seen by a lot of the suppliers as a negative, more perhaps than a lot of the buyers, I think. Stephen, in terms of your experiences of G-Cloud, what could be done to improve? What can make life easier?
Service definitions. Mm-hmm. They just need to be a bit more firmer. Sometimes when you do searches, you get so many responses, it's difficult to then skim through. The other side, I think the search engine to enable us to search the G-Cloud needs to be a better search engine. It's just not strong enough, right. And it needs to be able to respond to what we're so used to using other search engines, which allow us to do a lot more, a lot more filtering. And they're the two areas of it, I'd say. But I every year, I mean, G6 is just out. We see more and more and more things that we would like to use. I agree with you. I think the 2-year thing works very much for us. I don't see a negative from supplier. To be honest, I think they value the review of what there is, because the technology changes. We certainly, when we review contracts for applications, we always think about cloud first or hosted first. And that if it was a longer than 2-year contract, I think we would just feel that we are spending too much time trying to get out of contracts to move on. But the 2 years certainly works for us.
So you three, to greater or lesser degree, you're cloud fans, you're doing cloud computing, whether through G-Cloud or through other frameworks. A lot of your colleagues aren't. There's a lot of not necessarily resistance, perhaps, but certainly there's a laggardness about a lot of local government in terms of making that transition to the cloud. What would your message be to, if there was someone sitting in the front row here who is basically your peer at another local authority who just says, nah, not doing the cloud?
I think there are a million reasons why people don't do cloud. Obviously, in doing it, we talk to colleagues, but I've had a million different reasons why organisations aren't doing it. But the reality is local government's different. Each one's got a different demographic. Each one's got a different political makeup, organisational makeup as well, and it's something we find. And each one's also got a different financial position that it's starting from, as well as the technology starting point. So when you talk local government, it's quite easy to wrap it up into, it should all, we all do the same thing, absolutely, but we do it in 100 different ways. So there are 100 different reasons for not doing it, but the key ones that come up are security and risk, always, and we talked about that previously. And I think it does baffle me why, in an industry that's been doing cloud since, I don't know, Gartner, I think, first coined the phrase about 5 or 6 years ago, we've still not been able to come up with a clear definition of what is secure and not secure. So, we make it hard for ourselves in industry, shall we say, to do that. So security is one. I think also the political appetite. So giving your stuff away to somebody else also is a little bit of turkeys voting for Christmas kind of thing. But there are 100 different reasons why local government doesn't necessarily bite.
I think I'd come to our personal experience at the moment. We're going through yet another restructuring, another reorganisation. We have challenging budgets. And I'd say to local government, actually, we don't know where we're going to be in the next few years. Why should we be making huge capital investments in on-premise infrastructure? Yeah, the cloud can help us deliver. We can take baby steps into the cloud. We can prove its worth and take it from there. I think it's nothing to be scared of, as long as you do it in an appropriate way, bearing in mind, as Rocco said, the security aspects as well.
Steve?
I suppose because on the cloud you're using the supplier's T's and C's, and I think that is sometimes viewed as we don't own it, we're not in control, even though we can add to it if need be. I think there is that risk, the appetite in local government, I think, for risk is much lower than elsewhere. We're not a commercial company, we're focused on the citizen and delivering services. Our core business isn't technology, it's a tool to enable things to happen. And I think there's just I think there needs to be more buy-in by more senior people within local governments to actually say, let's take advantage of different things and see what happens. I'm certainly well supported by Paul Arrigoni, who's my boss, in the view of G-Cloud or anything in the technology space. It's actually speed to deliver is more important. We've had challenges with quality, and I'd lie if I said we didn't, but we're still able to deal with that as you would with any supplier relationship management. So I think there needs to be more buy-in from senior management, just saying, have a go, in the technology space anyway, have a go, see what's there, and play.
What about in the non-technology space? Because obviously the political masters in central government have said cloud first. The political masters in local government haven't said that, and we can't have a cloud first mandate across local government. Have each of you had support from your sort of non-technology stakeholders in what you've been doing?
Nice. Well,
Are we in Purda? Are we allowed to say?
yes.
Again, every council is different. We've got different makeups. I think I've worked in 3 or 4 local government authorities, and each one's had a different political makeup, with the chief executives running certain ones, the politicians running others, and so forth. It depends where they are in the cycle as well, electorally, as to what they want to do, because I guess politicians, the elected representatives, their interest is in the votes, but in also delivering services to residents. So their sort of mantra is, put residents, put citizens first. Yeah. And everything else, the running of the business and making things happen and actually delivering the savings is secondary, but we have to do that despite it. So I see the influences basically as being, people want things to happen. They want them at the right cost point. They want them to be of the right quality, to your earlier point about we do get some variable quality, and they do want it done quickly. So, the ticks are all in the boxes. It's just how we actually deliver that. And I think more importantly, how the suppliers can actually deliver that, because that's where the challenge is. We want it, we just need to have it, really.
So if I use the example of our corporate website, that was basically an in-house solution, and starting from the top, it was the leader of the council that was very much, we need to transform the website, let's move it out to the cloud. So from day one, the new leader of the council was there saying, yes, we're adopting this whole digital first, cloud first strategy.
Steve?
Well, in Bristol we have a mayor, so he likes getting things done, and that's changed some of the dynamics within the system. But also, Bristol views itself as a smart city, with use of technology, the furniture in the street talking to you and all that sort of thing. And so actually I view that as a help, because looking at the ability to look at new technologies, get new technologies in and play, is actually deemed as a very positive thing within Bristol. So I'm probably living on a bit of a wave of this smart city stuff that's running through the local governments at the moment, but long may it last. I think it's great.
Okay, one last question then. The cloud is obviously part of a wider digital transformation of local government. At the Tech UK event last night with the 3 main political parties there, all 3 of them spoke about their desire, and they didn't understand why there wasn't a local version of the government digital service, so local GDS or whatever we decide to call it. That's been a subject of enormous debate. Soccertim has been for it, has been against it, it's been for it, it's been against it. Where do the 3 of you stand on this? Is there room for a local version of GDS?
Personally, I can't see the need. I certainly do see the need for local government organisations to get together and leverage the experience that they've got and the work that they're doing because I always find it quite curious each time we go into a procurement exercise, we then contact a number of councils to find out about their experiences, and yet we're all doing all the same stuff, so surely we can bring that together. Certainly I'd like to see that happen outside of a subscription-based service. I think it should be open and free to everybody to do that. But having another thing, again, back to the earlier conversation about if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think it's fine. I think it works. I think it has to be more sophisticated in how we find things, but it works fine for me.
Yeah, I would echo that. I think what's there at the moment is very good for us. Picking up on the search, it would be nice to narrow down the search results a little bit more. Going through our processes at the moment, we are just finding so many possible suppliers out there, which is nice to have a choice, but it'd be nice to narrow it down a bit quicker.
I echo exactly what's said there. It's, the way it works well, we just have to use it.
So it's nice to finish on a note of agreement then across the three of you.
Always.
So thank you very much indeed to James, to Stephen and to Rocco. Thank you.